So, all right. Yeah. Untold podcast. We have Bruce Cardenas just flew in to Arizona. Welcome, brother.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Last time I saw you, you had a big old shiner on your, I think it was your right eye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
The day before it was perfect. The next day it was closed.
Dude, the first time I met you, like, you're just like this, super friendly and nice. And we're sitting together. We're at Lines Not Cheap Live in Salt Lake City and, just get to know each other. We take a selfie. But I'm really glad that we took that selfie.
Side by side.
Yeah. Because then I think it was the next day. The next day you come back to the seat after a break or something and your freaking eye is all black and swollen up. And I'm like, oh shit, what happened, Bruce? And you took a fall or something, I think, right?
I was going to say I got into a scrap with a couple of Navy guys. But I literally tripped on the steps and hit the pole. And my eye almost shut instantly. It was that much of an impact.
Did Ray Cash have something to do with it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Probably.
And I went back. I was kind of out of it. I went back to the hotel room and just put ice on it and passed out. And my daughter was so irritated because she's a nurse.
Yeah.
I told her the next day and she goes, you could have a brain bleed. I go, I think I do. It's like, it's bad. But I got to go back to the conference.
You're like, oh, I think I definitely did.
Yeah. That was one of the worst things ever.
Oh, I bet. I mean, that was wild because then we got to take the second picture.
Yeah.
And I think I sent them both to Ray. I sent them to everybody.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people that knew you and I was like, dude, look at this, But it obviously wasn't a burn, but it was just like you were smiling through the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it was great to meet you. And now here we are.
Yeah.
That's
good.
A year, 2 years later, something like that.
Yeah.
But you and Adam had already met, I think, through Self-Made.
I met you at a Self-Made event when you were still working with First Form.
Oh, yeah.
Years and years ago.
Yeah.
You had that big Jeep.
Yeah. I still have the Jeep.
Yeah.
That Jeep's been wrapped 4 times.
No kidding. What's it wrapped with now? Legendary?
Yeah, it's pretty tough looking now.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I need to check that thing out.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, Bruce, we wanted to kind of unpack a couple of things today, especially your journey from being a Marine veteran, which Adam's Marine, I was Navy, into your own business, and then into other businesses, and now becoming a legend yourself. Like Legendary is so perfect for the name of your protein we have here. But how'd you get into the Marines? What'd you do over there?
Whew. Yeah, I could tell you how I got in the Marine Corps. It's a quick story.
Yeah.
I grew up in a little town called High Bridge, New Jersey. Population 2,000 people. And it was a boyhood dream to be a cop since I was a little boy. My uncle was a cop. My neighbor was a cop. It was like, that was going to be my goal. High Bridge was a 6-man police department.
Oh, man.
And in high school, they used to let me do ride-alongs. And they liked me. I literally lived a block from the police station. And about a year out of high school, which I did not graduate high school. I failed my final exam. I was devastated because I'm dating the captain of the cheerleading squad. I don't even show up for graduation. I just couldn't because they wouldn't let me. I had to go to summer school to get my diploma. That's how badly I did at school. Anyway, I'm doing these ride-alongs. And about a year out of high school, I realized I'm falling into the workforce. Like I got a job driving a tow truck. I'm changing these big tractor trailer tires on the freeway, which was a tremendously dangerous job. But I found myself on a Friday afternoon in the police station, and I was alone with the chief, he was an older guy. I was a little awkward. I didn't like talking to adults then. But I was waiting for the guy I was going to do a ride-along with. And I mustered up the courage and said, Chief, I really want to join the High Bridge Police Department. That would have been I would have been set for life. Yeah. I would have retired in High Bridge, right? That's the mentality I had. Mm-hmm. And he, in his own kind way, he said, Bruce, he goes, I know the guys like you. There's something about you, but you're young, you're dumb, and you're immature. I think that's what he said to me, but that's what I heard, right? But he says, if you go in the Marine Corps, he didn't say that if you go in the Marine Corps, I'll hire you the day you get out. So I left and I'm thinking, man, that sounds like a bunch of bullshit. I got to go in the Marine Corps only to come back and be a cop in High Bridge. I think he knew something I didn't know. But the thing that pushed me over the edge, honestly, the next morning, I'm leaving for the gym and I hear my dad splitting wood outside. If you grew up back east, you know about splitting wood and all that. My dad was a worker. He was like a jocko back before there was no jock. He was kind of a hardcore dude, Vietnam vet. And I was walking by him because at that time I thought I was going to be the next Arnold. I was working out Arnold. We had posters in our rec room. Yep. And my old man goes, hey, if you want to get a good workout and you can split wood with me. And I was like, no, I'm good. I got to go to the gym, Dad. He says, oh, by the way, I've been talking to your mom. You've been out of school for a year. Next month, you got to start paying rent. And that caused me to go in the Marine Corps. So I'm pretty much like, that's some bull. I'm not paying rent. I didn't say that to him, but I'm like, so he must have knew something I didn't know either. So that was like, I'm going to the Marine Corps. And that I grabbed my best friend and we went in.
You guys go in the buddy program?
They called it that, yeah.
Yep.
I did that as well.
I did that too.
We didn't stay friends, so it's crazy through boot camp.
Yeah.
Paris Island is no. Did you go to Paris Island?
I went to San Diego.
So Hollywood. So anyway, there's even rivalry within the ranks. in Paris Island, I say this, I went in a boy and came out a man. I knew nothing. I mean, I was a child. You learn about work ethic and making your bed. And I learned about the Marine Corps core values. But I remember Jim was the kid that went in, and we were in the same squad, and he was always across from me. He'd be lined up. He's always across from me, and we'd be getting tortured, like bends and thrusts. And I guess they call them burpees now, right? But
yeah.
And he'd be like, I can't believe you pulled me into this. But that's what started. So the Marine Corps got me out of High Bridge.
Yeah.
And I don't want to keep talking if you want to question.
I mean, it's kind of a similar story for me. Like I did graduate, thankfully. But I didn't like school. Like I did okay with it, but the whole time I'm going through it, I'm like, what am I learning all this shit for? I know I'm never going to use it. I know I'm not retaining it. But the last thing I wanted to do was more school. You know, because we're looking at college and like tech schools and vocational schools. And I was just like, this all sounds like trash. And I was working at Sam's Club, pushing carts, my high school job. And then my buddy Donnie comes in one day and he's like, hey, I'm joining the Navy. And I was like, oh, no shit. Okay. So very long story short, ended up going in buddy program with him as well. But that was the perfect thing for me because I didn't want to do school. Like same with you, like bills are starting to come up and I was just like, I don't know. I grew up here. Like I like it here in Scottsdale, but like I needed to do something else. And that was a great way, the Navy for me. I only did 4 years. But that was perfect for me to like really, like you said, kind of get my shit together, go from a boy to a man. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to go do something.
No, it's funny how similar the stories are from the guys who go in and almost everybody I know now that went in like that. It was a buddy program. I did as well. My best friend at the time, and it's funny you mentioned that because when we got out of boot camp, we were as far apart as you could possibly get.
Yeah. I don't know where my guy was. We weren't close together.
Yeah, you go into boot camp and you have two options when you go into boot camp, and you'll know this too. It's you are at the front of everything and you try to do the best at everything and you try to do that and become a squad leader or guide or whatever. And that's what I did. And then you have the other direction where it's like, try to stay in the back. You don't want the drill instructors to know your name,
right.
And all that. He went that direction and I ended up graduating as the guide. He was all the way in the back of the platoon. And that kind of just went like that. We got stationed on different sides of the planet, basically, and we never really were friends after that. That was kind of it, And that was like
kind of similar to us. We had I was fortunate. My dad got me involved with shooting at 11 years old with the NRA, small bore 22.
Yeah,
and I didn't realize that skill set of breathing, triple pull. I graduated #1 in my class, and in the Marine Corps, you might as well walk on water if you're a good shot. No, they don't care about anything else.
Sure.
One shot, one kill, literally. So I did really well in that, but I also did horribly. I don't know if they had an ASVAB test, like a basic aptitude test. I never passed a test in my life. So of course I did no better with that. And the recruiter was so good. We were sold 3 minutes in, dressed sharp. You're going to take on the world. And he made us take this ASVAB test. And I swear there's no joke. My friend Jim took it. We're in like these cubicles. And he's like, oh, Jim, that was great. What do you want to do? He goes, I want to be an aviation mechanic. Oh, that'll be no problem. He looks at my test. He goes, what do you want to do again? I said, well, I think I want to be a military police officer. It would make sense because I'll get out and be a cop. He goes, well, he said, let's not worry. No, I swear, you know this. He said, let's not worry about that right now. Let's just get you in the Marine Corps and we'll figure that out later.
Oh, boy.
Well, of course, what is it? 2 days before you graduate, they start telling you, hey, you're going here, you're going there. I'm like, I didn't ask to go there. That started my journey. Damn. But it ended up kind of serendipitously working out. I get to my first unit. It's not where I want to be. But in my mind, I'm still thinking, I got to do my time and I'm still going to go back to High Bridge. So I showed up early, stayed late. And in the military, you're either working out or you're partying. I worked out. I got into just powerlifting. And my first sergeant, he never said a word to me. 6 months into being in this unit, he calls me in his office and says, hey, Cardenas, I'm sending you on a temporary assigned duty, TAD. I thought that meant, I must have fucked up. I'm in trouble, right? I go down to battalion. I'm standing in front of this colonel, and it turns out it's the dream job. It was to start doing security. I went to school with the State Department for 5 days, and I was working with government officials and Marine Corps personnel. So I was always temporary assigned duty, but it ended up working out. Hence the bodyguard business. But I was a servant leader, and I had the best run ever.
Yeah,
is that what they considered MSG back then?
Yeah,
security guard. Yeah, cool.
And right before I was getting out of the Marine Corps, the guy I was working out with, who introduced me to a lot of things, including gear, but he was a powerlifter, and I was powerlifting. I was pretty big. And he said, I'm going to go out to California for a powerlifting meet. I'd never been to California. He goes, why don't you come with me? And I was like, yeah, we're almost getting ready to get out. We go to Camp Pendleton and compete. And while I'm on base, I see these signs for career day. And I'm like, hey, stop, let's go check. We go in this building and there's trucking companies and corporations and police departments. I said, I don't think I want to leave, man. I'm not going back to hybrids. Look at beautiful people, beautiful weather, and whatever at the time, making $50,000 as a cop, that was a dream job.
Yeah.
So I stayed. Yeah, that's how it started.
Man, that's cool. So you were in LAPD.
Yeah, that was not. I started the process. It took about a year because paperwork, psychological things, testing, physicals. I had broken my leg when I was a kid, so medical records. But I ended up on Christmas Eve. I'll never forget this. My background officer called me, and it was not easy to get on. I mean, they didn't believe I never did drugs, so I had to go for a polygraph. They didn't never believe all the things I was like saying. No, I never had sex with an animal. I promise you. And they'd make you go to, all because they try and eliminate you for all kinds of shit. But I finally got on. Christmas Eve, he told me you're going to join the academy, and that started the journey.
And that's awesome. What year was that?
I went to the police academy in January of '88.
Okay.
I can imagine.
And so how long were you in LAPD?
Full time?
Yeah.
I did 12 years, but I mean, I got to lead up to start the security business. But
so you were in through some crazy shit in LA.
Oh, the Rodney King, the LA riots, the OJ trial,
the
North Hollywood shootout, which I was at.
No kidding.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. Yeah.
Was the North Hollywood shootout the guys with the body armor and
they robbed a bank and came out shooting up? Yeah, we showed up because we were actually. I remember clear as day. We were working undercover in this unit and we were sitting in a Denny's having breakfast, and the help call came out. That I can't remember the guy's name. He got shot in the hip. He was a first responder. Say, hey, I need help. And we got there like in 15 minutes, but we were like hunkered down. Talk about the reality of when you know what you're getting shot at with real weapons.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh shit, they're going through like fenders and car doors.
Right.
We were helpless. And at the time, no law enforcement agency in the country had long rifles or ARs. It just was not an option. They had shotguns.
Oh, damn.
That's why one of the sergeants on scene went to a local sporting goods shop and commandeered like 4 No, he literally said, I need the weapons. And we had a relationship. They gave him to him, but we were helpless. They're shooting real weapons, and we're just like with 9mm and shotguns. So
I remember watching footage of that. And the guys were hit a couple times.
They had body armor on. They were all jacked up on pain pills and all kinds of things. But literally, if they had ever took the time to take aim like a good Marine, they would have killed a bunch of us. But they just didn't. They just were like shooting and spraying. So that was a real like crazy thing. And then I was involved in a big shootout in Hollywood with a murder suspect. For doing it for 12 years, I say this. A week in Los Angeles could be a career in another town.
Yeah.
Like if I was in hybrids, I probably would never pulled my gun out.
Right.
In LA, you pull your gun out once a shift.
Wow.
Or you're in a physical altercation twice a week of something, some crazy people going nuts,
How did that kind of situation, and you said there's a couple of them, how did that start to kind of change you? Because like you were in the Marines, but now you're back in America, you're in LA, and you're going through some of the craziest stuff. Everyone's watching it on TV and like you're there. Like what did that do for you?
I will tell you this. I'd never had, when I was in a big shootout in Hollywood, 4 of us with a murder suspect. And the first thing they do is they put you on the desk, right? They take you off the field, make sure you're okay. And I remember going to see the shrink after a few days after the shooting. And, are you okay? And I'm okay. And you're not stressed out? I go, well, the biggest stress is you got me working the front desk with all these kooky people coming in. I would much rather be out. I was never affected by violence. I mean, I kept in, things happen at work and you go home and I never got caught up. Some people get all cynical and jaded and get screwed up and PTSD. Right. I'm a bit fortunate. I just somehow have avoided it.
I think the Marine Corps does a really good job at teaching you compartmentalization too, without you really knowing it. I don't know anymore. I don't know how training is anymore, but at least when I went through, and then the guys that I know who went through in the 80s and the 90s are like, no, it's the same thing. It's compartmentalization of pain and whatever, negativity and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's nothing else. They break you down mentally and physically and build you back up. And but I say this, being a cop was one of the best jobs ever. For me, it was just rewarding. Every day was different.
Sure.
But it was not easy, Yeah,
that's
awesome. It's not good for everybody. And sometimes, the media, I sum it up this way because sometimes cops have a bad rap, right?
Sure.
But I think 10% of every occupation are bad people. Doctors, lawyers, trainers. I mean, it doesn't matter. You'll always
might be higher than that.
Huh?
Might be higher than
that.
that.
It's probably, but people,
Yeah.
but the cops end up on media because there's a body cam
Sure.
and they say or do dumb things, but it's no different than every other occupation.
Yeah. We had a firefighter captain on a couple of weeks ago, Riley, because we're doing a stair climb on Saturday, which is his event for 9/11. And one of the things I was trying to give him some props for, but he doesn't want to take it, because he's in the field.
Well, everybody loves firefighters, though.
Dude, everyone loves firefighters.
Those assholes can't do anything wrong.
No. But I was telling him, like, just first responders in general, police and fire, like, that's a job where you suit up to go out and go handle the nastiest shit that's going to happen. And in a big city like LA, man, I mean, there's everything. There's the worst of the worst the cops have to go out to, and then the medics have to go out to. And it's wild. And a lot of people, they take it for granted on one hand. On the other hand, it's like, can you even just like sit back for a second? These people that hate on cops and like just think about what their job is like.
Right.
They're not going out there and just shaking hands and kissing babies and having a nice day every day. The worst stuff that's happening in society, that's what they're going out to try to help and make a difference. And
you see the worst in humanity. And I always remind my friends, especially the liberals, who are like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Hey, look, when's the last time you walked down an alley at 2:00 in the morning, going into where someone's screaming or crying, or you heard gunshots fired? You're going to go hide in your house. You expect a cop to go down the alley.
Right.
And things happen. People come out of the dark with a gun. Mm-hmm. Sadly, maybe they're 16, maybe they're 25, but things happen. And, when there's ramifications, I don't know, people don't always understand that, but no one's leaving their house to go do the same thing as a cop or a fireman are doing.
No, and everybody wants to be a keyboard judge.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like they hear one thing, a headline or a little clip of one angle of the video, and now they're going to decide if this cop is guilty or not.
It's not easy work, and sometimes you have to be a bit of a psychologist out there and a de-escalator. I found myself being more, I would try and relate to people. And even when people even when I worked in the ghetto in the South End, I would figure out, okay, how am I going to talk to these guys? I don't have a beef with these guys out of prison. And one thing, it's funny, I would be with sometimes 4 or 5 cops and, let me see your ID, let me see your hands. And I never really said much. And then one big jack dude right out of prison, he's got a wife beater on. He looks at me and goes, how much you bench, bro? Guy was pretty big then. I go, I don't know. I said, I have 400 any given day. And he goes, that's bullshit. I go, and then next thing you know, I'm not even lying to you. I'm doing a push-up contest with a guy in the street. Mm-hmm. And I started doing that. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. But I told my partners, you're an idiot. Why are you? And I go, listen, sometimes you got to relate to people. Mm-hmm. And that was our common ground. We talked about working out.
Yeah.
And then I told my partners, listen, if we ever gotten shit down here, those guys are not going to be our problem.
Yep.
They won't be fucking with us because we didn't disrespect them. So anyway,
that's a good point. I mean, a lot of cops, especially if that's like a regular place you patrol, it's kind of your area. It's like, wouldn't you want to try to get along with people?
I got to know people, and even and it's crazy. Even people that grew up in the hood, they would still have block barbecues and invite the cops and the firemen, the families.
Yeah.
I mean, their kids may be knuckleheads, but the parents were still hardworking people, postal workers, and
right.
Yeah. So I always like to relate to people.
Yeah. Well,
no reason to have a beef with somebody,
No, there's not. And that's
unless you're trying to kill you. Then,
yeah. I mean, I think I picked that up about you within a minute of meeting you.
Yeah,
this is a cool dude, But I can see that working as a cop too, especially you're a big guy, so they want to probably challenge you. It happens to him all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
You go to a bar, you go anywhere, and they want to fuck with the big guy.
Yeah, right.
Reason.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, but it's like if you can have the opposite mentality, it's like, I'm the big dude and I can kick your ass, but I'm also just gonna laugh and be your friend.
Exactly.
This is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got some pretty big award while you were there for something. What was that for?
Oh, a Medal of Valor. There was a couple things. I mean, that particular one was a shootout with a murder suspect. He was wanted he tried to kill a couple of highway patrolmen. Big chase, shootout, but we really prevented him from going into a restaurant. That was his goal. He was going to this restaurant, and to shoot more people. So we stopped him.
Damn.
Yeah. Wow. That was crazy.
Yeah. So were you still in like pistol and shotgun mode then? Or
Yeah. 9mm.
When did they finally upgrade into?
Well, for the long rifles was after the North Hollywood shootout.
Right after that.
Then it became a standard around the country even.
Yeah.
Wow.
It'd be hard to believe because it's hard to capture time, but there was a period of time there was no long rifles unless you were a sniper on a SWAT team.
Oh yeah.
And they had their limited whatever long rifle they carried. It wasn't like you ran around in a patrol car. Now you go to the kit room and get your equipment. You got an AR, you got a shotgun, you got a slug gun, you got more shit that you know what to do with.
Yeah. Now you're basically a Marine again.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about that? Do you think cops are equipped well enough? Do you think they're over equipped? What do you think?
I think they're equipped well enough.
Yeah.
I think training is paramount, though. I don't think they train enough.
Yeah.
Even if it's quarterly or you have to qualify at the range. I think every quarter. It's not enough.
We just did a CQB school shooting thing with one of the companies that we work with, and they train law enforcement, border patrol, FBI, and stuff like that. And the law enforcement guys that were there were telling us, they're like, our department doesn't pay for this. We have to come out. We have to seek this stuff out, unfortunately. And it's like, they were going in there and I think it was like Mesa SWAT. They were on point. They were, they did the whole thing really well. And then, you get the regular, like the patrol guys, and it's like, it almost seems like they've never even thought about being in a situation like that. So, just you saying that the training aspect, and, we get to see it in real time. These guys are like, we never trained like this, for stuff like this.
The SWAT department, the SWAT units usually train. They train all. That's their job. Unless they're working patrol too. But and it progressively goes downhill. It goes downhill with the training, with the physical fitness. Mm-hmm. One thing with firefighters, it seems they seem to maintain a higher standard in general. Yeah, for sure. Like LA Fire, you can't get through the academy unless you can, fireman carry a grown man. Police departments have lowered their standards so much. It's a little embarrassing, to be honest with you.
That's wild.
Mm.
Yeah, even when I went through the academy, which is now I'm dating myself, in 1988, they eliminated full contact. Like you would box, but it was controlled. We would wrestle, but it was kind of controlled. Mm-hmm. And there was things you didn't have to. It was not a requirement. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, how could that be? Like, I want someone that's coming to my house to be able to carry me down a fire.
I think I remember
especially
in
LA.
And listen, I'm all about. To me, I don't care what color you are, what sex you are, but you still need to be able to do the job.
Oh, totally.
You need to be able to make sure you can drag someone out of a fire, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was like Beverly Hills Cops or something, like those 90s movies where like Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, but they were literally like in boxing. Like that was part of their thing. They're beating the crap out of each other. That was just part of their workout. Then they go shower and go on the job.
It used to be a requirement. We did, but it was like, and I was very aggressive back then, right out of the Marine Corps. And I remember I threw one of my classmates in the ground. Whoa, Cardenas, you can't do that. I go, what? The guy, I'm trying to, take him down.
Yeah.
He told me to win.
Yeah. Winning at all costs.
I'm winning, right?
Or back in the pugil stick.
Yeah, it's wild. That's one of the things that we train our people for a lot is capability over looks.
Yeah.
Because you can still get the looks you want, but why not train to be capable? Because as you know, like a lot of bodybuilders, like they get up on stage, they feel like shit. They're about to keel over. Yeah. They look amazing, but that body is not really ready for much.
No, not much.
But when you train for capability, you can still look amazing. But I would rather be able to run and jump and carry people and be functional and all that. So I think that's what the police should be training for sure. That should 100%. Absolutely be a crazy requirement.
Most of it is, I know like jujitsu is becoming a thing now a lot, but it's still not even, I think it should be mandatory.
Yeah.
You've got to have 40 hours of jujitsu basic, because even you see these videos, cops are three guys are trying to wrestle some guy to the ground and they don't even know where to grab him. It's almost embarrassing.
Right. Yeah. And hopefully it never even gets to that, because if you can talk your way out of fighting,
sure.
Or if it's a bad enough situation, like he was talking about our guys at Method Endeavors, like they train on active school shootings. They train all these different things that guys never get to practice. And I think that's so important to try to do both ends.
Yeah.
Be good on the game, be good at talking, and be good at being lethal when needed. That's wild.
Yeah, especially, that's crazy to me that those kind of standards are the ones that go to the wayside, because you get somebody that's, our size on PCP or something like that. And it's like,
that's when you mentioned PCP. I don't know if PCP is still relevant. Back in the day, PCP was a common thing. And I remember, I swear to God, I thought it was a movie out of like the future. We got a call and there was a guy standing in the street naked. Like, come get me.
Yeah. And did he have a sword?
No. But we no, there's no joke. I was a little scared because we tased him. And all he did was pull the prongs out. Mm-hmm. Normally you get tased, you just drop like a sack of potatoes. He pulled them out. And there was like 7 of us had to take him down, but it causes superhuman strength. They also get very hot. That's why they take their clothes off.
Yeah.
But it was scary. I'm thinking, this guy's not human. Like he's muscling us, and he's an average sized guy.
Dang.
Yeah. There was some crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, I bet. All right. So you were you were there, and then you went to sheriff department? So LAPD and sheriff?
No, so I transitioned to be a sheriff reserve only when I started the protection business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So how'd you get into that? Because you're loving your job as a cop, but then you started your own protection business while you were still
I was still a cop, and I met a guy who was a retired sergeant from Beverly Hills. I actually met him on a radio call. His business had been broken into, and we hit it off. And I told him about my Marine Corps journey and what I was doing, and he said, Bruce, I really enjoy talking to you. I own this bodyguard. I own a protection business. I take care of a lot of high profile people. Maybe you want to work with me on weekends and nights. And I started working for him. Extra money was great.
Yeah.
And in no short order, I'm like, I got this. I know what I'm doing. I was all about a servant leader. I knew about how to read rooms and understand people without even talking to them. And actually, I forgot to say this, but my training officer, who was a real brutal, he was an asshole to me. The one thing he taught me was listening with the intent to understand people. Matter of fact, he got in the police car. It just goes back to the bodyguard thing. We got in the police car and there was a notepad between us. And he drew this face and it had 2 big eyes and 2 big ears and no mouth. And he said, "That's you, Cardenas." He goes, "It's all looking and listening, but I don't need you talking." I'm like, I felt like I was in the Marine Corps again.
Yeah.
But it was the greatest skill I've ever learned. So fast forward, I start working for this guy doing the bodyguard work. And I'm like, yeah, I know how to do this. Like I could just listen and observe and know how to get people in and out of situations. So I decided to start my own business. And he was so gracious because he was retired and he wanted to get out of it completely. He gave me my first client, which I still have to this day.
Wow.
He owns Revlon as one of his many holdings. And in no short order, because of the relationships I was establishing, I'm taking care of Arnold and Stallone, Kim, Chloe, Madonna. I used to rent armored vehicles to 50 Cent because I don't know if you remember back in the day, he got shot up.
Yeah.
So he would rent armored vehicles. I was renting armored vehicles through the record label all over the country. And the craziest thing was one day I get called from a guy named Irving Azoff, who's a big music mogul. He had taken over Mike Tyson's management. Mike Tyson split up from Don King. They had a terrible breakup, business breakup. I don't know if you remember who he was, but
Yeah.
I'm called to this meeting and I'm sitting across the conference room table from Mike Tyson with a bunch of other guys. And they're like, "Okay, Mike has a 3 fights coming up. Bruce, you need to ensure he's getting to his fight safely." And I'm thinking, I am? It's Mike Tyson. Like, you want me to spar with him too?
The
Like,
most dangerous man on the
yeah,
planet.
like, so
What are
I
you
just,
talking about?
I helped his team, but that was a pretty cool assignment. But I just, the clients kept coming. I did quite well financially.
Yeah. And that all came from, like, I mean, I'm going to guess your personality, how good you are with people, and just treating people right.
Yeah.
And
It just kind of just happened. And then it became a word of mouth. And I did very well with urban artists because, crazy enough, I did my first gig with a very well-known urban female artist. And I was just there for the day and I never said a word to her. And I left and I got a call from the manager and said, "Hey, can you come back tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, she wants to know if you can come back the next 3 days." I said, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "She really liked you." I go, "I never said a word to her." She goes, "I know, that's why she likes you." And she got rid of, she had a couple of guys that were hanging out with her. They weren't there the next day. So what I started finding out is, no, I never wanted to be in your circle. I was always in the outer circle.
Mhm.
I never had a desire to know anything about you. I don't want to know anything about you. And that's, the success kept coming that way because people are like, there's a guy who just stays out of our business.
Mhm.
And he's
I mean,
always
that makes
seen,
perfect sense.
yeah, but a lot of people, they lack the social intelligence. And by the way, I've had guys work for me that have lost accounts from me because I've sent people on the road with talent. And next thing, wait, what do you mean? Why are you offering to work out with this person? I didn't hire you to be a trainer. They hired you to be a, but I saw she was in the gym. I go, yeah, but they didn't hire you to be a trainer.
Yep.
Let her drop the bar on her head. You know what I mean? Like, it's not your job. So people don't get that. He said, I like, he almost couldn't help himself.
That was the first thing that when I did EP for a couple of years with a couple of different companies. The last company was CSA, and we did some work with the Trump campaign and stuff like that. But the first thing I learned when I went to EP was, you're here for a very specific job.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got it immediately.
Yeah.
And it's so funny you said that, because that turned into, I never said a word to the
Principal.
to the principal, and it ended up, just by me not saying anything and just doing my job, I ended up being the principal or excuse me, the head EP for Stephanie, who was the chief of staff of the entire campaign.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Nope, you're on her." And a bunch of the guys were pissed because I was new. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not trying to know who, I don't care who she is." And like, I made her aware of that too. I had to take her through a riot one time. It was kind of crazy in Kansas City. And I was like, told her very clearly what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, how we were going to get to the other side of the whole thing. And she was like, "Yep, I want him for forever now." So
it's a very unique business because less is more, less is better.
Yeah.
But people don't grasp that, and you hire guys, and they're, I'm a SWAT guy. I go, yeah, but just you gotta just be seen but not heard.
Well, it should totally be non-personal and non-political and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like the Secret Service needs to be. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the person is. If your job is to keep that person alive, then that's all you do.
And I've not been able to get away from it. So even when I was, so I became a reserve with the sheriffs, and then I ended up joining a unit after about a year, and all they did was dignitary protection. But but so it was the sheriff's department had a unit that if you came in the county of LA, from the president to the state, from speaker of the house to congressman, we would support them. So I ended up doing security like with the Secret Service and in the motorcades. So it's always been kind of a pretty cool thing. But there again, I was just nobody. I'm just there, you know. What
are your thoughts on what went down with Trump?
You mean the shooting?
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah. It's obviously a breakdown in a lot of places, a lot of things. Who knows whether, you know, it might be one of those things. Will we ever see a real report of what happened? It seems like
we still don't have anything from JFK.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 60 years later, they're still letting documents out. I will say this: I think they didn't offer him the service they should have gotten for being a candidate. I think they diluted that. Let's say he was supposed to have 100 guys, it was probably 30.
Right.
And let's have private security do that. He's not that important to us because that's how they think about it. You know, it's not like he's a liked guy in certain circles, so they're probably thinking, why are we going to spend a lot of money on him?
Well, it's wild because he's a former president, so he has that already. But
now
you have
he's
also
detail.
a leading candidate, and it's like, damn,
you
dude.
think it would be amped up just as equal. And I've been around some former presidents, and it's obviously the detail's much smaller.
Right.
And sometimes as you get more further away, you got just two guys with your family but they definitely that was not just so many flaws, you know?
Yeah. My buddy, Eli Crane is in Congress and he's digging into it hard right now because he doesn't trust whatever's going to come out of FBI or whatever, you know?
There's so many things, including the woman that was sitting behind Trump that was supposedly work for the FBI. It was like all these things. You're like, wait, I don't know. It's
so many weird things. Yeah, of course, like there's no way that we could ever say that like we know what happened.
No, yeah. Well,
but I think we could probably say that there was so many different things that didn't happen that should have happened, or just little or big things that just all happened at the same time. That it was like there was so much that like had the ball dropped on. Was that intentional?
Yeah, and there were so many people that were saying, "Hey, there's a guy up here on the rooftop." Like yelling to the cops and like
it was wild.
Yeah,
well, everything you need to know is the next day or the day after, before the investigating body from Congress got there, the FBI was on the roof cleaning the roof off. Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's super important to clean the blood off.
Nothing here. There's nothing here to see. Yeah.
And they burned the body like 2 days later too. Yeah. Like cremate the body.
That'll be one of those things. If we ever read a report, you'll be like, oh, I guess must be the truth. They said it. You know.
That's what kind of sucks about like everyone's belief in like the government now, because it's like whatever the report says, no one's going to believe it. Like literally nobody.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe don't give us a report because, you know.
And I don't know if I'm sure they know more about that kid than will ever be disclosed.
Oh,
like
for sure.
Cell phone communication or text or
how
you just some random kid ends up on a rooftop. Was he, you know, who was how did he get there, you know?
That's why I'm glad there's guys there that I trust, like Eli Crane, that is he's digging in. He's not going to come up with some bullshit report. Whatever they find, it's coming out.
It's almost comical though. There's a guy walking across the field with a ladder and a long gun and oh hey, where are you going? Can I help you?
it's like a South Park episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a cop like helping him steady the ladder.
Yeah.
Can you steady this for me?
Oh yeah, no problem, young man. Yeah.
So you still have that company now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it called?
It's my daughter's initials.
Okay.
I don't advertise, so I'd gone through some hardship. I mean, so I'll tell you this from a business side.
Yeah.
As well as I was doing, and I'm literally like paying myself probably 8 or 10 times what I was making as a cop. It was crazy. I knew nothing about business. I knew about relationships and money was coming in. And I was also so grateful for everything I had. Like I've always been like I bought my mom a new car, bought one of my clients a new Harley Davidson, had delivered to his house because you really weren't supposed to, you know, it was a corporate account. One Christmas, I literally bought 5 handguns, custom handguns, and had them sent to my clients, which I think I'd probably go to jail now. But that's who I was. All this success is going on, and I have a bookkeeper. I tell you, she's a bookkeeper for a reason. Nice lady working from her home, just writing checks for my employees. And she calls me on a Monday morning and says, Bruce, your payroll's due Friday. It's like $75,000. I'm like, okay. She goes, but you only have 25 in the bank. And she goes, you have a lot of outstanding, a lot of accounts receivable. And she went down this list, and the first one was 20th Century Fox. I just did the Super Bowl with them, and it was like a $50,000 bill. So I'm like, oh, no problem. I'll call them. I remember calling Missy, who's the VP of Talent Relations, and we have a great rapport. I've done Super Bowls with her, World Series. I used to work with the original 90210 cast.
Oh, cool.
Kept them out of trouble, late nights. And I get her on the phone and say, hey, Missy, I submitted an invoice. She goes, yeah, I submitted it. It's in finance. I said, well, I need to pick up a check like this week. And she goes, well, that's not really, and she giggled. She goes, that's not really how it works. You know, it's in the system. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 30 days. I go, I remember this is a real lesson for me. She goes, I used the words to her, you don't understand. I have payroll due on Friday. And she said, Bruce, don't make your problems my problems. I got to go. Click. And the crazy thing is I didn't have any relationships with money. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any friends. I mean, my friends thought I was kind of rich. Sure as hell couldn't call my mom. I just bought her a car. And the same year, my brother died of brain cancer. My father died of colon cancer. So she's dealing with her own stresses. And I had no one to call. I had no banking relationship. Anyway, I ended up, remember I told you I had like 12 years in the police department. So I was vested in like a retirement fund. I ended up cashing that out, which when I went to do it, they're like, wait, are you sure you want to do this? Like when you turn 50, you'll get about $2,500 a month for life. I need the money, man. Give me a check.
Yeah.
And I used that to pay the payroll.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. And I learned a lot of lessons.
It's not fun, but it's awesome.
But I learned, I had I had to get an accounting firm then. I had to get a lawyer because I knew nothing.
Yeah.
And one of the so the punches kept coming, by the way, when you own business, as you know, right?
Yeah.
So I got past that. And the next month I got a letter from the labor board. I read it and the name I see on it is one of my favorite guys. He's suing me for back wages, no lunch breaks, over like a bunch of array of shit. I own 15 grand. I go, how's that possible? This is a guy. He came to me right out of the military. He was Army, so I should have known, right?
Uh-huh.
He comes to me and I starts working for me, and he's got a newborn kid. He goes, "You're saving my life. I need this work." And we had a company. We were taking care of a record label called Priority Records. Master P, long before he was a billionaire, that was where he was working. This guy worked every day, hours on end. But then the record label moved. So we lost account. They didn't need us.
Yeah.
So, of course, then he goes to labor board and I get sued. And I remember thinking, this is the same guy that said I saved his life, but because he decided the gig ended. And anyway, those things kept happening. And I just realized, because I'm a people person, like I want to take care of my people. Then my accounting firm, he was a business guy. He said, man, he goes, listen, I get it, Bruce. You love your employees, but keep in mind, look, your favorite employee did that to you. Everyone's going to come after you at some point. You just got to protect yourself. It's hard because you still want to be like cool and, buy lunch for your employees and buy beers and be their pal. But the reality of business sets in.
Yeah. So you got kicked pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Many times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the final one, which is actually very it's travesty. I almost tapped out of the business. The name slipped me. A very famous singer, but she died at 22. She was flying out of the Bahamas and her plane was overloaded and crashed. We could Google it. I can't remember her name. The record label called me and said, Bruce, can you meet her in Miami? She's going to do a video shoot. I said, yeah. The day before I was supposed to leave, something came up and I called my guy, Scott, who was in Miami and said, hey, can you go on this gig for me? Which he did. He ended up being on the plane with her. It was too much weight and they crashed and all died. Like 5 people died. But so there, and I was like, Jesus, like he was a single dad. And I'm thinking, I was supposed to be on that plane. Like who? So then I really started questioning myself, man, maybe this isn't for me.
Wow.
But, I still did it, but I was like, wow, that's a lot of burden to take, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's wild. Yeah. Cause like you said, very well, business is insane.
Yeah.
Like it's a roller coaster of emotions and finances and energy and everything is insane. I did something similar. Like you were saying, you cashed out your police retirement.
Yeah.
So after the Navy, I went to Lockheed Martin for 10 years.
Oh yeah.
And I was working, doing flight tests over there for F-35 and F-22 fighter jets, which was fun at the time. It was great. But I left because I did really good, but I hit a ceiling and they were like, you need another 10 years before you're going to get this job that we want you for. And so that's why I was like, this is insane. I'm not going to sit here, but long story short, we left and started Earn Your Booze in 2017. And throughout all of that, great times and then COVID.
Right. Oh yeah.
Better times, and it's all over the place. But at one point, I forget why or when, I cashed out my 401k because I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I could wait another, because this is probably like 6 years ago or so. So I'm like early 30s and I'm like, I could sit here for another 30 something years and then get an amount of money I'm not going to give a shit about.
Yeah.
Or I could take that money out and do what I need to do right now instead of going out of business or taking on an investor. So I did that. To me, it made sense at the time. And I think it still makes sense because I'm not planning to, for when I'm 65, 75, 85, like I am, but I'm planning for a lot more than just a couple grand a month.
It was a decision I made. I think it was a poor decision because now there's relationships I've got. Like I'm going to talk about tomorrow. BK Live, these masterminds, these networking groups. I could have called anyone I know and say, hey man, I need $100,000. How do I do that? Can I give you 2% of my company? What can I do?
Right.
Probably have an endless stream of money. But at the time I knew nobody.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird, right? That
Well, I mean, yeah, but it makes sense. And I
Yeah.
think that's good for especially new entrepreneurs to hear. It's like,
oh,
it's always going to take, I always say, more time, more money, more energy than you can possibly plan for.
that's what I'm going to tell them tomorrow. Listen, you may think everything's smooth. You are going to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
A dark day's going to come, and you're going to be like, wait, where'd this come from? Why am I getting sued? What happened? I didn't know this was,
Right.
So have a war chest, have a backup, have a lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to pay them, but have them on,
Yeah.
have a speed dial.
Mhm.
And be willing, if this is something you're serious about, to go all in.
Yeah, yeah.
To cash out your savings, or maybe an investment account, or take money from someone you wouldn't want to. Like, you really got to do whatever you got to do sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. And not
Yeah.
everyone's willing to do that. I'm finding recently, because
Yeah.
now, because I'm in this food space, people are calling me saying, hey, I want to start this company, and I can make it a protein bar company. I'm raising money right now. And they start using the word Series A's and B's and seeding. And I'm like,
Right.
what does that mean? Anyway,
Yeah.
I go, how much? And so here's my question. Oh, you have this idea for protein bar. How much money have you put in yourself?
Mhm.
Oh, well, me and my partner put in $5,000 each. I go, $5,000 a month? No, $5,000 total. And you're asking someone else to put in $200,000 that you don't,
Right.
because you don't want to risk it, right, man? You know what I mean? To me, if
Yeah.
you're to start a business,
Yeah.
have you taken a second out of your house?
Right.
Is your wife threatening to leave you because you're spending all your, I mean, you have
Right.
not even, you're just like, oh, let me just raise money. That's really not, I don't really like to
No.
do, I can't help people like that.
No, Sam, I'm the opposite. I have done my house. I've done my 401k. I've had this business now since 2017. And dude, the amount of money we've made versus what I paid myself is freaking laughable.
Yeah.
Like, I've taken almost nothing from the business.
Usually
It's
people
nuts.
that have to borrow money and just don't make it.
Yeah.
They haven't really earned it. They don't figure it out. There's no stress. And really at the end of the day, this guy I spoke to yesterday, he said, well, I'm going a family and friends route. I go of raising money, family and friends. I go, let me just tell you this. Your family's stuck with you. But when you screw them over, they're not going to talk to you at Thanksgiving. And your friends, if you borrowed money and you screw them, they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how I expected it to work out. It never does. What do you think?
Mhm.
Well, oh yeah, I'm going to borrow money and
Oh,
screw
yeah.
my people. It
This
never.
is going to go perfectly.
But
Yeah.
when you have no plan, I want to borrow $100,000, but you don't really even have a plan on where it's going.
Right.
That's even worse.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
It's just that I have an idea.
I have an idea and I need $100,000.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, it's gone. And you're like, well, anyway.
Yeah. No, I
Yep.
totally get it.
Yeah. I think I don't remember who said, I think Priscilla said it or whatever, especially nowadays, the entrepreneurs that are coming into the space now, all they see is the 2% of the, who's succeeding, and the 2% of the time that things are great. And it's like 98% of the time, everything's on fire.
On fire.
And-
Andy's a great example. When
Yeah.
him and Chris
Mhm.
started the nutrition shop, and
Yeah. Supplement superstore.
they were sleeping in the supply room, and,
Yeah.
and they didn't pay them. They didn't make. I think he said he made $600 in the first 5 years, or something. It was some ridiculous number.
Exactly.
And they were ready to call it a day.
Yeah.
He was going to start do plumbing or, yeah. So
That
no one's they think, oh, that's a cute story, but that's the reality
Yeah.
of life.
That's
And most people cannot survive that.
That's a great point. People hear the story and they get it, and they might be, influenced or motivated by it. But like, you have to think about what that actually feels like. Sleeping on a piss-stained couch in the back of your store with no money for anything for years.
yeah.
When that is a reality, people can't.
They don't
stomach
want
that.
to do it.
They
They're like,
can't
oh,
do
wait,
that.
that was a cute story, but no,
They
I
want
can't.
the story,
Yeah.
but they don't want to earn it.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is they see that story, and if they are still interested, it's because they see the story and they see that, oh, well, he's
he did this
successful
now.
now. How many of the guys slept on the piss stained mattress in the back of the store that didn't make it, and they are a plumber now, or they are and not saying that plumbing is not a great
No.
job, because it is, but there's more. I think that's the one thing that, and I didn't understand this too when I first got into the entrepreneurial space, when I started my own business before I met Justin, was like, all I saw was the wins.
Yeah, of course.
And when I got into it, I was like, oh, there's 90% of people that try to do this don't go anywhere. It's 5 years. If you don't make it past 5 years, you're probably not going to make it at all. If you don't make it past 10 years, and it's like,
yeah, and you talk about numbers, I even thought they were exaggerated, but the year that I met the Quest founders, when they started Quest, 400 nutrition companies launched that year. 400. I don't know one name.
Yeah.
Now, maybe some have succeeded, but think about that. 400 were registered nutrition companies, whether it's a little protein bar company, cookie company.
Yeah.
Who knows if any of them are in existence? But that just goes to show, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't make it.
I bet it's a lot more now too.
Yeah,
with
because
social
every time I
media and
turn around,
everything.
someone's
Yeah.
opening something online, direct to consumer.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So that's a big question that I have for you is you Marines, got into the police, then started your own business, had some success there, started to figure out how to be an entrepreneur and
Yeah.
a business owner there. And then you got with Quest, and I'm going to crack this this is not Quest. This is Legendary. This is your new thing here.
Even
This
better.
beautiful gooey
That's Quest 2.0.
Quest 2.0. Yeah. So I'm very curious. How did that all come to be? Because you're in security. You're not in the food world.
Not at all.
But you somehow got in.
The closest I came, I ate protein bars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that happened very serendipitously. I met a woman named Shannon Pennant in the gym. She goes by Quest Creator on Instagram. We became fast gym pals. And her husband Ron worked out there too. A couple weeks after meeting them, I went to the LA Fit Expo.
Mm-hmm.
No, I had nothing to do with it. I just worked out, and I dated a girl who worked out, and we went and came across there. They had a little table, and I was like, "Oh, there's the people from the gym." And I talked to her. We talked for like an hour. She told me how excited she was making these bars by hand, and her husband figured out how to commercialize it and make them in a commissary, and they're selling them on websites. I took a few bars, and next week I saw her in the gym, and like, Shannon, those bars are incredible. The taste, the texture. I grew up, bars were not that great.
Yeah.
During quite a period of time.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
But it's got 50 grams of protein.
Yeah, but we're talking in the gym, and she's like so excited, telling me like how and she was literally making them by hand and bringing them. She used to be a trainer. She got a lot of heritage. Her father was a famous bodybuilder, one of the few guys that beat Arnold back in the 60s.
Who was it?
His name's Chet Yorton.
Cool.
Only 3 people have beaten Arnold.
Yeah.
So her dad, so there's a little bit of heritage in bodybuilding.
That's cool.
And she was pretty jacked herself. So I felt compelled. It's really strange. I felt compelled to offer her something because she was so excited. And I said, next week I'm doing the security at a celebrity golf tournament. I could probably maybe get the product in the hands of at least the publicist, because she was a friend of mine. So they dropped product off at my house the next day, and I brought it to the golf tournament. Sure enough, my friend, there's no social media at the time. Facebook just started, and she gets it in the hands of these people. They're trying on the red carpet. She's getting like do videos and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I'm not lying. I had a BlackBerry, then even an iPhone, and she sends me some of the pictures and video, which is called content, but it's just pictures then, right?
Yeah.
And I think content's a newer word, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's always been used. But anyway,
It is.
I showed Shannon in the gym, and she's like, oh my God, how do you know these people? I said, oh, I told you I do protection. She's like, oh my God, that's incredible. And I just started helping them. Next thing you know, it's on the set of Extra at Mario Lopez, because that's one of my accounts. It's on the early sets of the Kardashian shows, because they're my clients. And I would never bring it to the client. It would always be like the production company and say, all I would ever say is, my friend started this company. Maybe you can have oh my God, that'd be great. That's cool. And all of a sudden we're on TV shows, and 9 months into me just helping them, I'm having a good time. Ron and I meet the husband, and he says, listen, man, we're stealing from you. I mean, what do you mean? He goes, you're bringing us all this value. We're doing nothing for you. And I said, yeah, but I get free protein bars. And he literally laughed. He laughed and he goes, I think you're worth more than that. Next week, we're going to put you on the payroll. You could give it to charity, do whatever you want. And I was like, no, I don't want your money. And it was like your average American salary. It wasn't life-changing for this, because I'm doing quite well, but he goes, do whatever you want with it. I best describe this. It's that work ethic thing my father taught me. The minute I got that check, I was like, Jesus, now what? I got to start proving. I'm getting paid. Oh my God, I got to start proving myself. And I literally, my brain went into overdrive. But where can I put these bars? Who can I meet? Mm-hmm. And I traveled 40 weekends a year for 4 years straight.
Wow.
I became an entrepreneur inside their business. And the cool thing is there was no rules. Like, one guy ran production, one ran R&D, and I just built out the events department and ambassador program. And I just started wherever I could go to bring them value. And that's what I did. I had no, by the way, when I met them, there was no expectation there was going to be a Quest. It was like, oh, they're nice guys making protein bars.
Yeah.
I never even thought, who would ever thought, oh, they're going to be something. And fast forward, I'm part of their equity pool when it comes time to sell. And I ended up being in the nutrition space.
That is awesome.
And it was all relationship based. Everything was relationships. And I remind people, I met them when I was 47. Imagine if I walked in off the street and said, hey, I'm a bodyguard and cop. Can I work here? I wouldn't have got past the front. I wouldn't have got past the receptionist.
It's a good point. You, like Gary Vee says, you gave, jab, jab, jab.
And one thing, this comes up often. Oh, you were lucky. Oh, you did. Well, I don't know. Was I? Yeah, I met people and I offered to help them. I will tell people this, because there seems to be a mindset, because what happened was people, once we had some success, then we were actually looking for people, right? People would come in for like director of e-commerce and all these cool jobs, right? And my office would be right next to where the president was doing these interviews. And they would call me in partway through the interview. Oh, hey, this is Susie. She wants to be director of marketing and at 100 and whatever a year. And they'd be like, how long did you work for us, Bruce, for free? Oh, I don't know, like 9 months. And all of a sudden you see people like, oh shit.
Yeah, they're like, damn it. Yeah.
And it wasn't to really like mess them up. It was almost like, you want to come in here at this starting salary. What have you done to even show us what you can do?
Right.
I do tell people this, and only one person is taking me up on this offer. This is a crazy thing. This is when I was doing bodyguard work. We got time for quick. It's real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we're good.
I'm it's a Grammy week, which is like the busiest time because I'm taking care of all these musicians. My artist is at the Beverly Hills Hotel. He's locked down with his wife, and I said, I'm going to go check out your party because we're hosting a party that night. And I pull up to this party. Everything's set up. I already got guys working, starting at like noon, securing the area. There's you know those bicycle racks like to prevent like people from like concert barriers.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of people already lined up. And I pull up and this young kid, could have been 19, 20 years old, goes, hey, are you Bruce? I go, yeah. He goes, I really want to meet your boss, your client. And I go, and of course, it wasn't hard to figure out who I was bringing because, you know, all these people are there. It's this person's party. I said, well, that's probably not going to happen. He goes, well, I just have an idea. And for whatever reason, I had a little bit of time on my hands. He said, I got this idea. It's like a digital idea in the music industry. It's a basic technical stuff, which I didn't know about, but he goes, I think it's something that'll work. I go, well, he goes, I came out here from Minnesota. I'm on my last money. I've gone all these labels. No one will even take a meeting with me. And I think I could get your client to listen to me. And I said to him, I said, I don't even know where this came from because no one ever gave me this advice. I said, well, I would do this. If you really want to get in with these people, just go to them and say, listen, I'll work for free for you. Whether it's a month, 3 months, 6 months, let me come in and show you what I can do.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I can't afford to do that. I said, well, if you have to work at Starbucks in the morning or you got to work at a gym at night or whatever you got to do, I'm just telling you what I'm presenting to you as a way to get in the door because you can't even get a meeting. So we go back to the hotel. We're coming to the event. Now it's like 7 o'clock at night. And my client, who's a pretty friendly guy, says, hey, is there anything? I said, as we're getting out of the car, which once again, I was compelled to say something, which I normally did not. I said, well, there's this kid here who wants to say hi to you. He goes, oh, let's say hi then. We stop, and I'm not listening to what they're saying because I'm doing my job, paying attention. They might not have even talked for more than 45 seconds. My client turns to his assistant and says, hey, get this kid's information. Let's make sure he gets a meeting. We leave. I never thought about that kid again. I get the chills thinking about this. 13 years later, I'm at the SoFi Stadium for the Super Bowl, which was what was in LA 2 years ago, right? Yeah. I'm in the suite with my own clients, 2 NFL owners, a team owner, like all these billionaires. I'm taking care of my client. And one of the security guys at work knocks on the suite door and says, hey, Bruce, there's a guy out here to see you. I walk out in the hallway. I'm not lying. It's this kid who's now is 32. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and goes, you're Bruce, right? And I go, yeah. And I recognize right away. He still looked the same except older. And he kind of like, he wanted to give me a hug. I'm like, well, you know. And he said, man, I got to thank you. He goes, you know that advice you gave me? So what happened was, he called the record company. They didn't return his call. He kept calling. He finally got a hold of the HR director and said, hey, the owner said I should come in and meet. And the woman's like, yeah, whatever. You're like, click.
Sure they did.
So he used my line. He said, I just want to come in. I'll work for free. I was told that, you would accept that. And she goes, yeah, of course. If you're stupid enough to come work for free. I mean, she didn't say that, but I'm sure. He worked for free at this label. He learned all these skills, met all these people, met the director of marketing, and he left and started his own firm, like a digital download agency. I'm going to simplify it.
Yep.
He says, if you didn't ever give me that advice, I would have never started my own company. And now he owned the suite he's in. He just did a $5 million deal with some other record label. He goes, I'm a multimillionaire because you took the time to talk to me.
Damn.
Like crazy, right?
Dude,
that gives me the chills.
Man, you know what I'm going to say? He freaking earned it.
Yep.
He took advice. He applied it. He didn't quit.
Yeah.
Did what he had to do, and he earned.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And he's got this beautiful wife with him, and he goes, yeah, and I actually met her while I was an intern. Like she was working in the label. So it's kind of a cool story. Yeah.
You literally changed his
life.
Yeah.
He said that. So it's kind of cool.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned before the story, you're talking about people saying that you were lucky. And I'm sure people say that kid's lucky too, but luck is when opportunity meets preparation, right?
Yeah.
And if you're prepared for it and you have, you have the opportunity and you're prepared for it and you take advantage of that opportunity, if that's luck, then cool. I like.
Is there a percentage of luck and circumstances and everything in life? But at the end of the day, one thing, and as I was at Quest and people started to know me, and it'd be interesting. People would stop by my office and say, "Oh, because they follow me on social media. The kids are working in the company, right?" And they'd be like, "Oh, hey, I saw you at the CrossFit games or whatever this weekend. Yeah, because no matter what I did on a weekend, I could be out till midnight on Sunday. I'd be back at the office every Monday morning. I never missed a Monday because that's when you'd recap. And people would come by my office and say, hey, Matt, it looks really cool what you did. I'd love to join you sometime. I would say the same exact thing. Hey, this Saturday, I'm going to go down to San Diego for whatever, an event.
Sure.
I'm going to go out to San Diego. But, oh, man, it's my girlfriend's birthday. It's okay. Well, what about next weekend? Oh, it's my I got a wedding. Okay, cool. So they wanted to live the lifestyle. They wanted to experience what I was doing, but no one ever told you. One girl, I swear to God, I can't make this up. She was an intern, and she came by my office one time, and she was working in some other department. She was kind of bored, and she goes, Bruce, I can't help it. I heard you do some cool stuff. Can I join you sometime? I'm thinking, here we go again. I go, tomorrow night, there's a movie premiere in Hollywood. I'm just going to go. They want product for the talent. And she goes, what time? I said 7. She goes, can I come? I said, yes. So crazy enough, because one of my rules in life is you have to be on time, means 15 minutes early. Yeah. That's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
She got there before me, and I'm like, oh shit, okay. And anyway, so she helped out. She goes, when's the next event? I go, oh, you want to do it again? She goes, yeah, I went. And so Friday, she kept coming. The crazy thing about this young lady, she did her internship and left. Out of everyone I met that ever took me up on it, she now is a CMO at a publicly held company that's on the stock exchange. She's a millionaire in the food space.
Yeah.
But it said to me when I saw she was finally in this position, she was someone that did whatever it took. She wanted to learn everything. She wanted to meet people. And no one else has ever done that. So when people kept saying, oh, you're lucky, you get this, but why don't you want to do what I want to do then?
Right.
I'll give you some of that luck. Come hang out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But people have more reasons why they don't.
I mean, everyone's full of excuses for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us how Quest ended up. You said you got to share in that.
Yeah.
Probably did pretty well with that exit, I would imagine.
Okay. I mean, there was obviously the founders, and there was probably 20 of us that were part of the equity pool.
Yeah.
It was okay. I mean, I'm still working.
Yeah, for sure.
But
so then Legendary is what we're eating right now.
Yeah.
You got it on your hat. How did this come to be?
A year before we sold Quest, Ron, the founder of Quest, we had investors then and said, hey, I want to start. He wanted to make it safe. So he said, I want to start this nut. So we started out with just nut butters and seasoned nuts for Legendary. That's what we had.
Sure.
And they're like, oh yeah, no big deal. Like, start your little cute company. They didn't even think about it. We sell Quest. And then Ron calls a meeting with about 8 of us and said, hey, and we start working out of his house, his old house. He was vacant now. And he said, listen, I don't know where this company is going to go, but it's Legendary Foods. I need the mentality that we're poor because we have no money. We're starting from scratch again. And that's the mentality I took anyway. Some people didn't. They were like, I need to make so much money, because they were so used to the money at Quest. None of those people are still around, by the way. Mm-hmm. I just started bringing them value and helping them. And now, 4 years into Legendary, I think we're valuation of like 300 million now. Nice. So the same thing I think will happen, and it's pretty fortunate, but same deal, except all the mistakes we learned at Quest, which there was a lot of mistakes, a lot of wasting money once we made money, but now we're keep the team slim and lean and mean, not a lot of marketing. And it goes back to the same thing I always say, getting product in people's hands. Mm-hmm. Everywhere I go, I bring product. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't need to do any cool stuff. It's just product in people's hands. So, and the only difference is now at Legendary, we just moved into if you guys ever come to Santa Monica to check out the headquarters, we moved in this building and we're giving about $3 million a year to cancer research. All in-house. Wow. We have our own labs, our own techs. We have to do everything.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So it's kind of like now it's like our mission,
Yeah.
Because we're a firm believer, whether it's true or not, this is what we believe. And I think statistically, everyone is going to be affected by heart disease or cancer, one way, shape, or form. Mm. So if we can, find some answers, that's what we're working on.
I mean, that's great because like we talked about capability earlier for training.
Yeah.
Really, the main thing I care about is health.
Yeah.
My little girl's going to be 6 in a couple of weeks, and I've been married 11 years, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm still just getting started, and I'm like, I need to be here as long as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's really I cater everything I do now towards health. Like I could kind of care less if my body changes or looks a certain way. I'm not getting on stage or anything.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to do stuff that's going to try to keep me healthy.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on the success of that already. I see it everywhere.
It's exciting. Oh,
I see it at gyms and
it's wild. They keep putting it next to Quest. It's just all the retailers even put it next to Quest.
So they're competitors now, right?
Yeah. Well, not.
Kinda.
There's no. You know what? I say this. Be obsessed with your customers and not your competition.
Wow.
I don't. You know what? And it's not easy because I remember. So I would when I did the security business, I'd hear so and so got an account. I'm like, damn. I'd be worried about what other people are getting, and I just realized I got to worry about myself. So same thing with Worry about your competition. Worry about your customers. Be obsessed.
Yeah.
Be obsessed with them.
Wow.
You start looking at your competition. Great. So what? Who cares what they're selling across the
Who
street?
cares?
Who cares what fitness program is someone else doing?
Right.
You're going to do the best you can, and you're going to make sure your customers never want to leave you because you're so good with them.
Damn.
You're not just cookie cutting it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great point. It goes all the way back to the beginning. It's just of you having this relationship mentality,
Yeah.
taking care of people, doing the right thing, treating them the right way. Now it's like, cool, when it comes from the business, let's do that with our customers. Forget the competition, handle them the best we can, serve them at the highest level, and just make them raving fans and just take care of them.
And I don't know if it's a DNA thing, but there's a couple things I've learned along the way. Like a guy named Tony Shea started he started Zappos, and he wrote a book called Delivering Happiness. And I remember I spent a day with him in Vegas, and he said, man, he goes, all that you care about is you're only as good as your sale, right? That sale. Anything beyond that makes no difference. If that person's not happy, you know. And then First Form's a prime example. If you ever ordered anything for First Form, you get a personalized note.
Oh yeah, every time.
When I started helping them, I was like an ambassador. I got my first package, and I swear to God, that person must have went and studied my Instagram because, hey, Bruce, great being part of the team. We see how was the movie premiere you went to the other day? I'm like, what? What? Are you stalking me? But they condition you have to do those notes. But it's left such an impression. I'm thinking, how no one does that. Yeah. So that's why I like to start. That's what we do.
I like that. I took that from Frisella as well. Like we've done, I don't know how many apparel orders, every single one, handwritten note every single time.
That brings people back.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's especially in the age of like e-com and digital everything and online content and all that stuff. The more that you can do this personalized, the better. Even if you use automated for messages but handwritten notes on something especially is definitely the way to go.
On the rare occasion I get a handwritten card in the mail, I'm like, whoa, people still do that? I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah. Well, Bruce, congratulations on everything. This is awesome.
Still learning, still growing.
Oh, dude, for sure. I mean, what else? You've given so much value here to people listening. Speaking to people that are in business, let's say that they're in their thing, they're doing their business, and they're trying to, they're just, I don't know, they're trying to figure shit out. They're trying to go to another level. What's something you want to share with the entrepreneurs out there listening?
It doesn't matter where you are in your cycle. You need to continue to build solid relationships. That's the easiest thing.
Yeah.
People start getting to a certain number in sales and they just stop paying it. It's in general just becomes numbers.
Right.
Still got to take the time to pay attention to all your customers. That's just one of the fundamental things.
That's a good point.
And I look at, business, you're going to get to a certain point and you probably start being frivolous with money and doing silly things. Just remember, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like I said earlier, right? Have a war chest. Yeah. I think people, especially with Instagram, I see these poor kids will do everything they can to lease a Lamborghini, but yet they can't afford to do anything.
Yeah.
They should just think just the opposite.
Right.
Don't brag on them anything that's Instagram. Get rich, But people get caught up in too much of what other Joneses have and what other people have. They really do. I think they become too obsessed with that.
Totally. They're focused on getting customers, not taking care of new customers or current customers, and living this lifestyle that, like, frankly, doesn't matter.
It makes no difference because at the end of the day, when you're gone, like, no one cares that you had a big boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd you treat your customers? How'd you treat your family? Yeah.
Phenomenal. Bruce, thank you for being on the Untold podcast, brother. It's good to see you, man.
This is awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll come see you in Santa Monica.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We'll come see you soon, brother.